Well, welcome everyone to Springheel's Speed Build. This is a video series slash tutorial that was kind of inspired by Sotha's recent build series where he went through all the steps of creating a small mission. And when I watched that, I thought that there were a couple things that I thought he could have done to speed up that process, and it made me wonder, what could you actually achieve in Dark Radiant if you limited yourself to about a 4-hour build? I'd have to go double check. I think Sotha's build took about 8 hours. Could be wrong, but I think it was in that ballpark. So I got thinking, what if we cut some corners a bit? What if we speeded things up by using both modules that were already built and prefabs, which was something that I don't think Sotha used much in his video. So this video is going to be as unedited as possible. I'm going to try to show you every step of the way of building a small mission, barring real-life interruptions, so that you can see exactly how long it takes to do each step and how quickly you can do things using modules and prefabs. That means that you may get extended intervals where I'm just thinking about what to do, so I don't know how entertaining every moment of this will be, but hopefully if it's not entertaining, it will at least be instructive. So to begin, I have already sketched out a little bit of a plan for what I want to do for this mission. I've made some very rough sketches on paper. I'll show you those in a moment. So that I have some idea of what I want to achieve. I'm looking to create 3 areas. A warehouse area, an interior kind of homey area, and some kind of external, either a city street or a courtyard or something in that vein. And the mission is going to be a very straightforward one. Our character, Corbin, has to break into the hideout of a rival gang, and he's going to steal something from the leader's secret safe and then leave some kind of calling card behind. So not a very unique plot. In fact, I was a little bit inspired by one of the earliest missions that I really enjoyed replaying, which was Too Late. A very short mission, similar plot, but I find it a lot of fun, even though there's a very limited number of areas. So I'm hoping to do something like that here. So to begin, let's start by looking at some of the prefabs that have been created. Now, some of the prefabs that I'll be working with the most up-to-date developer assets. So there might be some assets that I'm using that are not currently available in 2.5, but not very many. I've also created some of my own prefabs, but again, many of those are also already available. And if they're not, it's not that difficult to create your own, and I'll hopefully show you how to do that. So to begin, let's go to the prefab window. Prefabs are basically self-contained, I don't know what to call them. They're modules. We've used that term for something else. They're sort of pre-built little map parts that you can just drop into a mission, and they are usually combinations of models and things that are already set up. So I've created Springheel's module buildings and module interiors. So if you go to module interiors and look, for example, you'll see that these are fully created pieces using my module models. So rather than having to build your own room, you can just plop a room right in there. So let's get going here. I don't want to waste too much time actually telling you what I'm going to do. I'd rather show you, and we can learn as we go. So I want to create a big open warehouse first. So I'm going to take a 2-story 6x6. What's this? Oh, that's bracing. Okay, 6x6 2-story interior. Hit OK, and it plops it right in there. So you can see already that we now have a 6x6 building, interior anyway. And one thing that's really neat, this is something that's relatively new, I just discovered it when I updated Dark Radiant a couple weeks ago, is that this entire module is now set as a group, which means you can rotate it and everything rotates with it. In older versions of Dark Radiant, when you rotated it, some different models would rotate around different origin points, which means the moment you turned it, everything would kind of fly apart. This is great because it stays as one unit, making it really easy to select and rotate. If you need to start, as I eventually will, if you want to start working with individual pieces or changing things, you right-click and go to Ungroup Selection, and then it becomes individual pieces. But for now, I'm going to leave it like this. So I also am going to drop in an AI here. It's one of the first things I usually do just for a sense of scale. So we're not going to use builders, but let's just throw a builder guard in here for now, so we can get a sense of what the scale is here. So yeah, see, that building is much bigger than I had originally thought. However, I want the warehouse to be quite large, so I'm actually going to duplicate that, and I'm going to move it down here, and I'm going to leave it like this, and I think eventually I'm going to put some kind of doorway or delete maybe those sections of walls so that the player can move from one to the other. Get my grid on something a little higher than 1. Just snap these. I think that snapped them all individually. Hopefully that's not a problem. Okay, so there's the beginning of our little building. And let's put a very simple floor on here for now. So we'll draw out a brush. I'm not going to do anything complicated with my floors or ceilings. Let's see, is that actually on a line? No, it did not snap perfectly to the line. We'll deal with that shortly. Let's just have that go up there for now. So let's put some kind of temporary floor on here. I think something maybe stone, perhaps concrete, if there's anything good in concrete. I think that's under, yeah, maybe something cement. There are some good cement textures I have seen. Concrete, nothing tile, nothing too rough. What else have we got? Well, for the moment, let's put sort of a default cement. I'd like a little bit of texture in it. Let's try this. I have a feeling that might not look good if it's repeated too much, but if we set it to natural of about 4, that might look okay. We'll see how that looks in game, but it's fine for now. Okay, so this gives us an idea of the size. We're going to have a warehouse that is 2 sizes large. 2 of these 6x6s. So let's select these, and I actually am going to turn this down just so that a grid of 2, so that I can line that up to one of these grid lines. I just feel a little more comfortable if things line up that way. And I think the very first thing we should do is create the access point between these 2 locations. So let's select this one and go to Ungroup, and we will go to the other one, click that, and Ungroup. And now we can select individual pieces here. So the first thing I want to do is select the individual pieces that I want to delete. So I'm going to delete the blocking walls there so that there's some passageway between these 2. Let's delete those 2 between these 2 rooms. Now we could do something like that and just leave it, but I think I want to push this down back a little bit more, open it up more. So let's delete those. We'll delete these, both sides. Let's get rid of these pillars because I happen to know of another prefab that I want to put here. So let's go to Create Model. Insert Prefab. And we're going to go to these supports. There's 2 supports, Massive 1 and Massive 2. Let's see what Massive 2 looks like. Oops. Oh, yeah. Here's a little tip I learned. When you bring in a prefab, even though it's grouped, if you try to floor it with this button, it floors all the pieces individually. It does not floor them as a group. So you actually have to manually floor it if you don't want things to kind of fly apart. Now, let's see, how does that look? It creates a little, let's move that out a little bit. I want to create one mapping tip that I've learned is that flat walls are boring. You want to have recesses. You want to have things that stick out. You want to have little corners like this that the player can hide in. So this creates a little interesting corner on both sides, which will likely be in shadow. I'll take this and move its space, clone it, move another one over here, position it so that it's about equal. There we go. That should work. Okay, and now look at that. We've already got quite an interesting section of wall there, which provides enough of an opening, but also corners and edges. This also is a nice place that we can put some lights. It becomes a little bit of a choke point, which is maybe harder for the player to get through. Okay, next step. Let's think about where I've decided already when I'm sketching things out that I want the player to come in over here somewhere. So let's take maybe this and we will change this to a door. So let's go to model, choose model. Now the great thing about these prefabs is because all of the pieces are consistent, you can swap anything in for a wall. So even though the prefab is all bare walls, I would like a door. So, but I actually want an empty door. This is a non-usable door. Door one empty. I'm going to do that. And then it slots it right in there. Don't have to move anything. Although, I'm noticing what might be... Oh, you know what? Huh. I see what happened here. When I snapped everything to grid, and I said, I hope that doesn't create any problems, snapping to grid also moves the pieces individually. And so it has now opened up a gap here, which is obviously not what we want. So I'm going to have to fix that. So rule of thumb, I guess, for the future, do not snap grouped selections to the grid. They do not like it. And I'll do the same thing over here. So this will eat up a little bit of time, but fortunately, not too much. And I did say that this may not be entertaining, but it's nice to know that everyone runs into these little awkward issues. Okay, that should fix that gap. So we have our little doorway here. That's going to be a player access point. The player, then I want them to have to traverse this entire space. So we're going to put the other access point that they need to get out maybe right here. So let's also make that a door. The easiest thing to do is to grab that model spawn arg and plop it right there. So now we have our entrance and our exit points. Okay, now sometimes I like to sort of do this to block out the entire map first, but I'm actually not quite as certain what I'm going to do out in this area in the exterior as I am inside. I've got stronger ideas for what I want in here, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time fleshing this out. Let's start with the ceiling. Now, in a building this size, just putting a flat brush like I did for the floor would not make much sense. Although I don't want to spend too much time on the ceiling because the ceiling is going to be dark and the player is not going to notice it that much. I know some mappers get very particular about their ceilings and making sure everything's supported perfectly. I'm not particularly stressed about that because I feel like most players don't notice. Here's what I am going to do. I'm going to take this bracing prefab and I'm going to put that along the top of the wall. So we'll put, let's see, put it so that it is supported by that, maybe right so it lines up approximately with that. Again, I'm not going to get too particular with this. Even if I was mapping and taking lots of time, I don't think I would get too particular with this, but on a speed build, there are certain things that you just have to forget about. And lining ceiling joists up perfectly is one of those things. Okay, so there we go. We've got some industrial-looking bracing up there. Next, I think what we'll do is, yeah, we'll put some sense of a floor up here. We have these. In fact, why don't we do this? I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them here as well. Can we do it so it lines up with that? Maybe let's delete that one and put that right there. Yeah, that should work. And we'll do another one right here. I hope this will look good. Kind of playing at this point. Move this out just a bit. And oops, where is this? Delete that. And put that in there. So again, we've got some interesting little nooks and crannies here. And also it's going to allow us to support some roof sections in a moment. So again, we'll take these and we'll put these over on this side as well. And we'll put them right where the braces are. Oh, they don't line up perfectly, but you know what? I consider that realistic. Builders at the time were not perfect either. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. Okay, so there we go. And these things add, again, some visual interest, provide some supports, and makes it so that the player has lots of nooks and crannies to go into. So I think we're going to keep those there. Now, I'm going to save this, because one thing I've learned is that you don't want to be mapping for too long without saving it. So what will we call this? Let's call it Speed Build 1. Okay. Now, what else are we going to do for the ceiling here? So I like the idea of these joists going across here as well. So we'll put one there, we'll put one there, and what the heck, let's put one here, and one over resting on these pillars here. There. Okay, so we've got lots of supports up there. Now, yes, these bite into those models in a way that's not particularly realistic, but again, I can't bring myself to care a whole lot about that. Well, that does bug me. Probably shouldn't, but it does, because this is a speed build. Oh man, that's what happens when they're not lined up exactly. Let's put that back one, there. Okay, so let's leave the rest of the ceiling for now. I'll have to decide what to do. I think what I might do is put a very long brush along the side like this, and up at the top that looks like it might be the floor of an additional level or something. Move that back so that it's just sticking off the edge of those. And let's just throw a wooden platform texture on there, just for now. I'll come back to this if I have time, and if I don't have time, it'll just have to stay the way it is. That's a good one. Apply to selection, and we don't want that. That's a little bit better. And for now, let's just, oops, not the scale, we want to move this over. Probably the wood should be going the other way. Do I want the wood going the other way? There really should be multiple braces here. Oh yeah, remember when I said I wasn't going to care about that? So I'm not going to care about that. If it's in the light and players can see it and it looks terrible, we will deal with it then. But for now, I have a hunch that None of those things are true. And we'll move this over there. Okay, so then there'll still be room in the middle for them to see what I imagine will be some kind of peaked roof. We'll do something around the edges there to fix that gap, but I think that will do for now. Okay, now I want to give the player lots of things to hide behind, and also I want this warehouse to look like it's full of stuff. In fact, we're going to have to put a big double door or something. I mean, how do people get in here? Yeah, well, you know what? Let's figure that out now. I want to give the sense that I want to put lots of packages and big crates and things like that, and those are not obviously going to fit through a little door. Again, would players notice or care? I don't know. But what the heck? We're going to try this anyway. So I'm going to delete, delete those two models, and let's go to our exterior city wall, because that has a big gate. And let's see if we can use that gate and have it fit. See, the great thing about these kind of pieces is they're really good for hiding joints when things do not mesh. The city wall models are not designed to go with these industrial ones. They're not designed to snap. They're not the same scale. But when you get these pillars here, you can hide a multitude of sins. So let's move this back, say like that. Now ooh, we just have enough room for the gate. Let's shift that over. And we can pull it back a little bit so it creates another interesting recessed area. And extend our floor so that it goes to there. That's not bad at all. Now it does have an odd gap at the top, which we will have to fix, but we can do that another time. I think these even have some textures, some skins that match the industrial set. Yeah, we're going to go with the gray brick, which is not actually what these are at the moment, I don't think. I will have to change that at some point. Well, let's start changing that now. So, matching skins. I like the industrial gray, which is a little more monotone. So we're going to just slap that on all these pieces. I wonder if I could just do select all of type. Would that work here? I don't know if this will work. Let's try it. Oh, it looks like maybe it did. Alright, well, you know what? We will... I hope it didn't put it on. Oh, it did. Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's not the best way to do this. Now I've got to go back and delete this from all the models that don't need that skin. But, hey, we just learned something together there. And that. And that. Oh, you know what? I forgot. You can't delete everything at once. Or at least if you can. I don't know how to do it. Well, you remember how I said I'd only pause for real-life events? There's my phone. Telemarketer, as it turns out. Alright, now where were we? We were putting a door in here. Oh, right. We had to remove all of these skins from... Oh, now that's interesting. I can't even see the properties of these because it's a group, so I don't know what that's going to look like. Delete property. Delete property. Yeah, so this actually probably did not save me any time at all. And I'll have to check and see what happened to those beams later. I might have to delete the skin property from them as well. Okay, well, you know what? Let's just double check with one. Ungroup it, select it. Yeah, it did. That's kind of annoying. You have to ungroup it to get rid of it. Definitely going to set me back. If there is an easy way of ungrouping things, I don't know what it is. All right. So again, we've got to delete all of these individually. Well, isn't this fun to watch? Yeah, okay. Thought I'd try the shortcut. That doesn't seem to work either. Okay, got it off that. Got it off that. This one did not do that yet. Delete. So I like to build this build the map starting with the most important areas first, so that then if I run out of time or patience or both, the areas that don't get done are the least important. So if I spend all of my time working on the important areas and plan to have, say, an outdoor area leading to the main mission, and then say I realize I'm running out of time or I'm just getting tired of working on the map or whatever, and that outdoor area doesn't get done, it's not the worst thing in the world. The important areas are already done. So I'm doing the same thing here, starting with what is the most important area, or at least one of the most important areas, and then I will worry about the outdoor access later. If necessary, I could always just start the player right outside that door and forget about how we actually got into the warehouse. But I'm hoping I'll have a little bit of time to add something in. Okay, so I think we were talking about what we're going to put inside here, and the plan for that is lots and lots of junk. Containers, platforms of crates, things like that. So you can go through these prefabs. At some point, Dark Radiant, the camera for Dark Radiant, at least in the window for prefabs, changed. And so sometimes you'll see there is no... Oh, wait, I saw it. Oh yeah, you can rotate around and kind of see something here. I don't know what this is. I have tried to go through, at least on all my prefabs, and save them so that they do show up on the preview camera, but not all of them will. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that I'm looking for here. I want to find stacks of stuff. So let's start with one of these, and we will move that down to the floor. Where are we here? This is the, yep, that's the player entrance. So these are going to serve as things for the player to hide around and behind. So we'll put them at fairly regular intervals. You can copy them once or twice because you can rotate. The player will be less likely to notice that they've been used multiple times, and if you start to feel like it's a little too repetitive, you just ungroup it and delete one or two things or shift them around. But there are enough prefabs in here that I'm sure I won't need to do that. Let's see, crates. Books is not going to fit in here. This is a group of thugs, not well-read librarians. That's kind of a nice little one, but maybe not for the middle. That would go, here we go, giant blocks of crates. That's perfect. Okay, so let's put a giant block of crates here. Where are we? Are we on the floor? No. Let's move down to the floor. There. Giant blocks of crates there, and a giant block of crates there. And let's just take the same two and we'll move them down here. I don't think we're going to have to get super creative with these. Let's move one out of the way of the main door so that it does look a little bit more like that's where stuff comes in from. Leave room for the player and AI to get through there. And let's see, are there any more? Yeah, block and block. Cool. I find that these prefabs are really, really underused. Mappers do not seem to know about them or just don't use them. Even if you're just making your own prefabs in advance of making the mission, it's still quite useful. That looks like it's kind of designed to go up against a wall, so let's do that. Let's rotate it like this, and we'll move it up against that wall. Just enough so that it's not clipping. So again, lots of interesting paths for our player to walk. Let's get some of this block O2 just for some variety. I don't really know, whoops, I should floor it before I start copying it. I don't know how many of these I'm going to want. I sometimes need to go into the mission itself to get a sense of how this is going to look. I feel like I'm playing Tetris. And we'll tuck one of those. Oops. Where are we on the map here? Ah. Okay, so let's tuck one of those up against the wall here as well. So already we've got kind of a nice little warehousey feel here. Anything else? Any other interesting groupings of crates? We've got a block 3, misc crates against the wall. Yeah, we can use that somewhere. Let's put that against this wall. If you were doing this by hand, the amount of time it would take to rotate those board models and fit them so that they exactly line up against the wall, you could eat up your entire time right there. Now I'm going to select these, hit Control Shift H to hide everything but them, just so that I can get a more unobstructed view of whether those touch the wall. And they do. I don't want them to sink into the wall, so I'll put them about like that, which should work. Do that, and Shift H to unhide everything else. Oh, we clipped into the pillar, didn't we? Slide down a little bit. Here's where it's great that it's all one group. No, not away from the wall, just along. And we're not, let's see, get a little bit of a view from up here. Okay, yeah, that's fine. We need other big groupings of stuff. What else can we find? I don't know what the oil tank looks like. Oh, that's nice, but not going to help. Sacks leaning against the wall. Yeah. Oh, stacked barrels. How about that? Could that work somewhere? Perhaps. Stacked packages. This looks like what we want. All right. So let's put one of these. This is tall enough that it will help block the player's view. And I want to do that so that they have a little bit of sense of having to explore here. So let's put one there. And we don't want to, I want this area to be a little bit open. Where else can we put one? Maybe only that one on this side. We'll copy it, flip it, put it over here. We'll do some copying and pasting from this room to the other room in a minute. Any other? Yeah, that one. Okay, that's a little less long. Maybe we can fit that one. We could probably fit that one there. And maybe we'll put one along the wall here. Fill up that space. And what the heck, let's put two. Let's put another one right here, but let's rotate it so it's not identical. It is kind of a mirror image though. Maybe rotate it like that, slide it along. Oh, we don't want to block off our corner. We want the player to be able to get in there. So we'll do this, and then if it looks a little bit too similar, here's what we'll do. We will ungroup this one, move this over here, and maybe put another one there, and what the heck, we'll stack one on top like that, rotate it slightly. There, perfect. Does not look the same now. Let's move this just a bit closer. Alrighty. That's how easy prefabs are. Now look at how much we have filled up here already. And I'm just going to, Actually, I might want to fill in the space a little bit more once I get a sense of how big it is. And we also don't have very many barrels. Let's add some more barrels. Let's ungroup this, copy it, and we'll get rid of the packages, and we'll just group the barrels. So we can maybe do this. Back to playing Tetris again. What can we fit here? And clone, rotate, and we'll fill in, maybe we'll put those right there so that the player has, can they get around that? Don't want them to be, how much space have we got here? 44, just, yeah, I don't want to risk that because that might block, we might get into problems with the AI there, being able to get through. So why don't we move this, will it fit there? Nope. Where are we going to fit this? What if we did this? Put it right there. Is that going to work? I don't think so. Okay, you know what? Let's just move those barrels out of the way. We'll put them over here for now. We'll figure out what to do with them later. We've got at least a few more here. Now, what else? I feel like I want some smaller scattered things over here. Remember that those crates with sacks we saw? Crate of sacks? No. Crate plus? No, not a book. Crate and book stack? No. Crate sacks? Yes. Let's put a few of those in the areas where we don't want to block the player too much, but I do want to give the sense that there is some clutter. So we'll put that next to here, and we will put that maybe here. Okay. So far, so good. Let's copy one of these. Let's move a couple of these now into this area. And I'm going to copy two of them, place them together, create a nice big block of space, which means we're going to ungroup one and shift. What do we do with these? Rotate and put them maybe like that. Good. Alright, I think we are on to something here. We're going to want to go into game and check this out pretty soon. How are we doing for time? I think we're close to about 45 minutes or so. And we have one sort of main area pretty close to set up, at least in terms of the actual base geometry. Let's do one last thing, since we are going to want, well, you know what? I was going to block this in with a brush, but because we're going to have areas on the outside, I don't think I want to do that yet. I want to first put in where those areas are going to be. So let's take this, and we're going to put some kind of hallway. So let's go back to our architecture, interiors, and do we have an industrial hallway? That's 2 by 6, which is a little thick. Industrial, that's the smallest one we've got. Okay, well, let's use that then. Oh wow, that is big. I feel like we should really make something a little smaller, but we can do this. So let's floor that. We'll expand our floor brush over here for now. We'll go into this. This, I mean, well, I don't know, is this too big for a hallway? Probably. But who says it has to be a hallway? It could just be some kind of room. I basically just want an extra room that the player gets into where they can then move and transition from the industrial look of the warehouse to a more lived-in kind of look. So where is our door? The door is there. So we want to make sure that this line, that this lines up with the door. And if we line these two up like we have, then that should work just fine. So let's click this. Let's go to ungroup. We'll take this. Well, that doesn't line up at all. Okay. Let's undo ungrouping that and figure out how we're going to do this. I think what I'm going to do is make a new layer. So let's go to Control L, new layer, side halls. I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it to layer side halls, just so it's a little easier to select. Now I will ungroup it. I will change this to the right model. So I want it to be the same model as this. So I'll do that. And now I will select side halls, group it back together. And now we can shift it so that it matches up, which I think there are our edges. And we want a little bit of space in between, but I honestly forget exactly how much. Oops, that's not the window I wanted. Let's see. Yep, that looks like it matches. We can go a little bit closer, and then I can fill that in if necessary with a brush. Okay, done. So that will be our little exterior exit, and we'll worry about where that goes later. And really, we're going to do the same kind of thing over here, but I think we will make this a thinner hallway. So let's go down here and figure out where our doorway piece is. Where is our, there it is, okay. So let's line this up so that it fits. And then I should have this right now. Ungroup, select, oops, get the model, click, boom. There we go, okay. And let's just extend the floor just so we have floor. All right. So the player will enter from here. If there's time, we can have him come in from this door from somewhere else or from a grate or something. I haven't decided what yet. He's going to have to maneuver through all this, and then he will exit over here where he will get into sort of the living quarters of the gang. Not bad for 45 seconds worth of work. 45 minutes worth of work. So I think what we'll do is pause it here, and then next episode I'm going to start putting the brushwork, the ceiling brushwork around this so that I can start placing lights and figuring out what it's going to look like in game. All right, I'll see you next time, and until then, happy mapping.